Welcome, it's Brian reminding you that your whole future rides on the next 2 minutes. And it does so for this reality. I think human perception is skewed, and that we focus on so much nonsense and ignore the moment at hand, what I call magnify the moment. So that if you were capable of letting all the noise, all the nonsense, everything go away, and you were capable of magnifying this particular moment in all of time, then you'd know how to answer this question. Are you the scene of your own crime? Do you buy into the nonsense of toxic sensitivity, political correctness, even identity politics? Concern with this nonsense, what I call the human derangement syndrome, leaves you in a position to not be open, not be ready for the moment at hand. So I think what happens to us is our self-deception, and we grabbed it when we were little, and it was piled on like extra layers of makeup. But that our perception of ourselves is skewed. And if you remember who you are, what you are, where you are, and your ability to take the building blocks of the moment at hand, match them up with your natural resources, and dictate literally anything. That's what we're talking about. When we say magnify the moment, that's what we mean. Because the greatest evil, let me just get this out, right, and get it off my chest. The greatest evil known to humankind throughout the ages, the greatest evil is preoccupation. Right? You're focused on something other than yourself in this particular moment in all of time. And you've heard me talking about the carrots at the end of the stick. Preoccupation, agitation, the agitation of, will I get there? Oh, will I make it? Oh, will it be as good as I want? Oh, am I going to get the seventh heaven? Oh, am I going to do this? Oh, well, what if this happens? What if A happens? What if B happens? All of life is a paradox, but I don't know if I'm prepared for it. All of that. The preoccupation with anything other than yourself, your natural resources, in this particular moment in all of time, that's the evil. Because that agitation keeps you from remembering who you ultimately are. Now, I talk at length about the amnesia, human amnesia, forgetting who you are and what you're ultimately capable of. And we talk about the scene of the crime. If we want to know, are you the scene of the crime? Then that agitation, the dis-ease, if you will, of human gettings is brought on by that amnesia, by that forgetfulness of who you ultimately are. So we get concerned, we get agitated, we get preoccupied, we get distracted. Distracted from what? Distracted from who you are at your core. Distracted from the realization that if you bring your mind's marrow, you bring your true grit, you can handle anything that fate throws at you. Now, the human gettings, they're constantly agitated. They're constantly worried. Well, what if I don't get a 4-year degree? What if I don't get my doctorate? What if I don't get a Lamborghini? What if I don't get a trophy wife or a trophy husband? What if I don't achieve this? What if I don't achieve this? All this getting, no being. But suppose for a second you're here, capable of doing anything that your head and your heart congruently, that you set your focus on, your attention on, believing that in this particular moment of all time, the fingerprints of providence, look, if you commit to the moment commits to you. I've been saying it for 35 years. The key is to remember who you are, where you are. Labyrinth of life, garden of the mortals. Heard me say it 1,000 times. If you remember who you are, where you are, what you're ultimately capable of. So let's talk about your mind's marrow. Your mind's marrow, it realizes that fear is a predator. It also realizes that agitation is a predator. That you are the scene of your own crime. Because you've forgotten who you ultimately are. And when we talk about mortal up, we talk about the ability to use your breath, use your vision, use your memory, your recollection of who you ultimately are. That's all we ever kick around in terms of what mortal up means to an individual mind. Don't be preoccupied with anything outside of the moment, because that's what fate is counting on. That's the powers that be, whatever it is. That's what they're counting on. And being outside of this moment allows you to forget who you ultimately are. Not all the baggage, not what you believe yourself to be. And as I said before, this whole sense of amnesia, all this nonsense, political correctness, toxic sensitivity, political idea, you idolize yourself based on your political belief. Identity politics, I guess, would be a better way, a shorter way of putting it. But all this nonsense keeps you from looking in the mirror and allowing the mirror, standing there long enough for the mirror to look back at you. Are you proud of who you've become? Or are you leaving some of your natural resources on the sideline? Are you leaving some of your mind's marrow on the sideline? Are you taking crap from fate and the people around you because you know you could do better? That's the amnesia we're talking about. We've forgotten that you get to run the table of life. You get to work the red carpet. You're the rock star in this life. You're the collapse of the wave function. And what is evil stands in opposite. You know, you've always heard the play of words, E-V-I-L, and live, L-I-V-E, how they're a mirror image of each other. Well, then that's in fact true. Evil is anything that keeps you from living, L-I-V-E. And what keeps you from living authentically is the amnesia, the forgetfulness of who you ultimately are. So let your critics pile on. Let everyone say what they want. Again, we go back to sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, let's not forget that. Let all the critics, everyone that has an opinion, their opinion isn't yours. What are you here to do? How will you rally your resources to the moment at hand? What will you do with that? And when you remember, that's when I believe the moment remembers you. And when the moment remembers you, you have the ability to truly mortal up. Because everything you've ever needed, you've always had. And those that mortal up realize that that is in fact the case. Tomorrow, we're going to be discussing kind of like a little bit of an adjunct to that. And what I mean by your time is running out and why that's so important. Because if we are the scene of the crime, you and I have a chance. We have a limited amount of time left to be able to make that change. And we're going to be going over that tomorrow. Also, before we end tonight, I want to say a quick hello and happy birthday and thank you to my good friend and business partner, Henry Noel. And just thank him for everything. We wouldn't be in the position we're in if it weren't for his counsel and just all of it. So, Henry, thank you so very much. Have an absolutely fantastic birthday, brother. I wish you nothing but the best. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Don't forget, look up, stand up, bring your own bold and mortal up, because there's never been a better time for you to be who you truly are than right now in this particular moment at all of time, which is why I always say this is the greatest time in the history of the world to be alive. Why? Because the challenges at hand spark you to mortal up. The challenges at hand are nothing more than the siren's call. And you have to decide how you're going to respond to that. You're going to be a human getting? Or are you going to be an authentic human being? Have an absolutely fantastic day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.